FLOSSTUBE. Welcome to my channel, Stitching in South Jersey. My name is Debbie, and today is Tuesday, February the 17th, 2026, and this is my FLOSSTUBE number 16, and it is my January stitching update. So welcome. That took me 3 tries just to say that. First time, I couldn't remember what today was. Partly because President's Day was yesterday, and so today's Tuesday, not Monday, but it feels like a Monday. Anyway, and then the second time, I couldn't remember what FLOSSTUBE number it was. So, third time's the charm. Let's hope things pick up from here. So, welcome back. Thank you to all of you, as always, who like, subscribe, comment. I read every single comment. If it is something that requires a response, a comment, an answer, or me asking another question, I always do. So feel free to engage in the comments section. Be nice. Be nice. So I just want to say, before I get started, this isn't going to be that long of a floss tube, she says. Haha. But I'm really thankful for all of the views on my previous update, which was really my December stitching update. I filmed the whip parade in December and put that out at the beginning of January. And then in the middle of January, or close to the beginning of January, I did my December stitching update, trying to get myself back on track. And I figured no one will watch it because that was smack in the middle of whip parade season, and there was all kinds of stuff going on, and people come down off of the rushing around for Christmas and all of that, and nobody, I know I myself sometimes am just listening to podcasts because I can't seem to get my brain to do 2 things at once, which is like watch a video and stitch. So, which is also why crocheting comes in. I usually crochet at night because I can still watch TV when I crochet. It's a little more repetitive. If you're a crocheter, or a knitter, that's easier than cross stitch. One of these days, maybe I'll show you some of the things that I've made. I'm just about at the end of a project now. So maybe when that one's done, because that was a big undertaking for me, being fairly new to crochet. So maybe I'll show you that at the end of a video coming up when I have nothing else to say. Anyway, again, thank you for watching what was not a whip parade. It was just a December update. I just felt like I needed to get back on track, even though there weren't a lot of whips. There are not a lot of whips in January as a result of trying to catch up in December. So, sorry about that. But I'm going to do a little stash dive at the end, just a few things. And anytime I don't have a lot of whips, I'll just put a little bit of stash in there so that there's a little more content, so I'm not wasting your time and talking only to me, which is also fine. I'm totally good with talking only to me. I raised 3 kids, spent a lot of time talking only to me, even though I thought I was talking to them, but I was not. I was talking to me. So, okay. So here's the agenda. We are going to do, we'll do the whips from January, but first I have a start and a finish, a SAF, sticking according to plan, no new starts. So I haven't really seen anything, and I don't really have anything that is calling to me so much that I want to take away from the work that I'm doing, because I'm kind of making progress on some things. And I feel like we've talked about this before, where sometimes your whips all get to a certain point at once and you're like, yes, I can see the light at the end of the tunnel. So hopefully the sun stays in a little bit. It's been very cloudy the last few days, although finally the snow's starting to melt. I really felt like I was either living in the Arctic or possibly on Mars, because there were so many piles of snow you couldn't even see like around a corner when you were making a turn, because the snow was piled so high, and it's been so bitterly cold here in South Jersey. that it just wouldn't melt. So it's finally melting, but now the sun's coming out. This is my second stitching location because I really wanted to record this in my stitchy chair area, just so you could kind of see, but the sun was right in front of the windows. It's actually out on my sun porch, and literally the sun was like striking me right in the side of the face. So I've just come in from work. I had a work meeting today, which is why I'm kind of bejeweled. I don't usually, of course, the Italian horn. I don't usually film floss tubes dressed like this. I'm actually in a skirt and stockings too, but no point in showing you that. But I wanted to get this done, and so yeah, so here we go. So I'm going to start with my finish, and I'm going to be looking down, as you know, because I can't remember anything. I make myself a script. Not what I'm going to say, because nobody can actually control what I'm going to say, right? They've tried, and they've tried, and they've tried. Okay, anyway, so I started and finished Valentine's Tear by Erin Elizabeth. I told you that I don't have anything for Valentine's Day, and I saw it. I thought it was really cute. Let's do it. Easy peasy, and I did. So I started it on January the 11th because I was finishing up some December stitching, I guess, and finished it on the 23rd. So 12 days, maybe not all of those 12 days, and certainly not like it was my job 12 days, but 12 days, which wasn't bad, especially because I like to work on the big stuff. So 12 days, I was like, what? If it's not 12 years, I'm happy. I stitched it on just a piece of a Zweigart Ada that I had, 16 count, Sage Summer Khaki, and then I framed it myself with an old frame that was in a box that I got from my mom and dad's house when my dad passed away and we moved my mom. All the pictures had to come off the wall, and all the pictures have my kids' faces in them, but we saved the frames because I obviously have all of those photos as well. So we saved all the frames, and I thought, one of these days, I'm going to go into that box, and so I did. So stop talking, and let's see it, shall we? So here it is. So, weirdly, I happen to have a pink. I bought this mat board from Amazon, I don't know, like 2 years ago. And every now and then, I need it for something. Every now and then. So, I did. And this frame is like a purple, like a really dusty purple. Couldn't believe it was all going to work out. So here it is. And it's been hanging, but now the Valentine's Day has passed. It will now come down. But I love the way it came out. And I loved how short it was. But I will tell you this. I think I'm a bigger project stitcher overall. Just my personal preference. This felt really good because it's a start and a finish, and I framed it, and I got it hanging up in the same year, same season, same everything. But I don't know how to put this, and I don't really want to offend anybody. It didn't feel as big of a win to me as, say, one of the bigger things that I work on and then I finally finish. And I guess that makes sense, right? The more you put your heart and soul into it, and this was literally like 12 days total. And, but it came together very quickly. I will say this, we talk about this from time to time. In the photo on the hard copy that I bought, in the finished photo, the gray in here is much, 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 much more prominent. See, it's very light gray. You can hardly even see it. It's like down here. And the brown is much more prominent in the photo. Next time, when I do something quick like this, I also have her patriotic tear or USA tear, whatever she calls it. I am going to pull that floss and I'm going to look at it before I start, because if I like what I see in the photo, that's what I want it to look like. And I feel like the browns in this were a little lighter and the gray was way lighter. So I would make that adjustment if I had to do it again. But it's fine, and it came out great, and I had one start and finish. I don't even know the last time when it wasn't a Christmas present that happened. So that worked out really good, and the frame happened to go perfectly. I mean, I can't complain, right? But I kind of am complaining, but I shouldn't. Okay, now to the whips. I only have 5 whips, like I said. So part of that is because still playing that whole catch-up thing. So my December whips bled into the beginning of January, but also because I worked on these 5 for probably a little more than I would normally, because on some of them I felt like I was getting somewhere, and you'll see what I mean. So first up is Plum Street, A New Constellation. I'm sorry that the sun has decided to come out, and I'm standing facing a sliding door. And if you hear voices, the little kiddies are walking home from school. I seem to always do that too. So, A New Constellation by Plum Street. And here is where I am. And on this one, what did I do, you ask? It's an excellent question. Oh, I know what I did. I finished the words up here. These were my first ever over 1. So, let me tell you. Stitched on 28 count Legacy Lugana by Picture This Plus. I started it May 21st of 2021. First ever time on Lugana, first ever 1 over 1. Very scared, now very comfortable with it. You all are right. Your eyes do make the adjustment. You see the squares as you need to see them. With magnification, of course. And I finished all of this. I am somehow 1 stitch off. That should be 1 stitch that way. So I'm going to need to make the adjustment, because obviously this vine continues down. And I'm going to be messed up if I don't make the adjustment. So I made future Debbie a note to remember this. And I'll make the adjustment. I don't know how I was 1 stitch, something in the vine probably, and didn't realize it probably until it was, I don't even know where, down here somewhere. And I'm like, no, not going back. Yoo-hoo. Only forward, never backwards. Okay, that's first. Next, Scenic Farms by Dimensions, kit, everything. Started this April 18th of 2020. I love this. I've seen so many people finish it, and it is lovely, even without the back stitching. So you probably can't really see, but this time around I worked on just the white. It's the white of, what is it the white of? Oh, it's the white around. It's the roof of a building, and it's the white around the rest of this barn. And I know you can't really see it, but it doesn't seem, and I didn't even get the roof completely done. I was just kind of over white. You know, I was like, oh boy, we're done with white. You know, that white on white, I don't know why they put it on white Ada. But like I said, from now on with Dimensions kits, I'm going to look at it before I decide that I'm going to use the kit fabric, because it's so easy to swap out, but didn't think of it that way at the time. Okay, next is Wine and Cheese by Cooler Classic Designs. There you go. And this is stitched on 18 count Heartland by Picture This Plus, and I started this on February 22nd, 2022. And this is where I am. This has a bit of a story. So right now I'm leaving this, as you could see, and I said this just recently in my whip read, I changed all these colors. I don't need to have lemon lime anything. It's just not, I mean, it's pretty. It looks very summery and, you know, whatever, but that wasn't what I was going for. So I changed those colors, and I decided, because I changed the fabric, to leave this as negative space, whereas it's all yellow, that same yellow, which I just don't want to do that. So I have to change it to one of the colors in my border, and I don't even know if the stitching is necessary. So I'm going to finish them. I call them the grape cards, and then I'll decide. The problem this time was, see, here's a page end, so I really have very little left on this page, but this guy was finished when I picked it up this month. I started working on this, and I'm like, there's not enough space between them. Are they touching? No. I just started these grapes, instead of here, as you see where the leaves start, I started them there. So everything was shifted over, and it made a mess. So I spent my first bit of time getting rid of that, and then restitching that. But it was all worth it. It's right now. I'm good. Okay, fourth, Cove Haven Inn by Dimensions, Kit Everything. I have no idea when I started this, but I have probably had this for more than 15 years. And I have the Victorian house that goes with it. So I love this. So the Victorian house, lovely Victorian house, I think it's called, looks like the same house, different angle. So, and this is coming along, and this is where I've gotten to. I mean, even without the ridiculous amount of back stitching that goes with every Dimensions kit, I feel like, look at the way it is coming out. I mean, all by itself it has dimension, because those trees are 12 colors. The roof is 5 colors. The chimney is 4 colors, you know. Dimensions adds dimension just by use of color, blended color, half stitches, you know, all of that kind of stuff. Okay, and last, Christmas Quilts by Rosewood Manor, stitched on 18 count vintage smoky white Aida by Zweigart. Started this September 8th of 2020. And this is the one that I always talk about that never would have bought it just looking at this chart, but saw it in a LNS, loved it, and still changed colors, because these colors just need to, the really pretty blues and purples needed to be used a little more. So this was all green and red, and I don't know if you can see that. I feel like you're not getting that. That is purple now, and like a fuchsia. And then it's got all the gold Krynic in it, which was no joke. Seriously, that was no joke. But it was fun, and it was a good, it was a really good stopping point, because that's the page right there. And I love the way, I really wish you could see what I see, because it's so much bolder. Probably not. But this was all like green and red, like almost the same greens. And I'm like, we don't need every quilt block in green. Even though I get it, Merry Christmas, but look, they did the Merry Christmas in fuchsia. So I'm making my own rules. And they don't care. I bought their pattern, so that's all that matters. I'm sure no one cares. So that is it. That is it for whips. So for February, next month, when I do my update, I'll be back to my normal 8, 9, 10 whips. I just got a late start, needed to get back on track, which I did, and gave a little extra love to less projects. So we'll see. But next month we'll have more. So plans. My plans are to spin the Tiny Decisions wheel try and get through 8, 9, 10 projects a month, and then just stick with them for as long as I want to. So if I want to stitch on them for one day, there's one coming up this month. I probably gave it'll come up as 2 days, but it was over a 24-hour period. So I worked on it, say, on a Monday morning, and I worked on it on a Tuesday morning, and then I put it away. So 2 days, but not really 2 days. But it just wasn't progressing. It wasn't going to hit like a page finish or a motif finish or anything important. So I thought, well, let me devote my time to something that will. So they're my plans. Just to keep working on what I have. If I start something, you'll hear about it. And don't get me wrong, there's a lot of things that I own that I would love to start. And there's a lot of things that I've seen other people start that I would love to start. But not right now. Not right now. Okay, so let's go to who I'm watching. Lots of whip parades. I'm sure we all are. We're almost at the end of whip parade season. I got a little whip paraded out because they generally are very, very long. And like I said, my brain just wasn't completely there. So I was doing a lot of like true crime podcasts. I was doing audiobooks. I was just doing like that kind of stuff and just stitching. But I did, I don't think I've ever mentioned her, Chris the Camping Stitcher. I love her. She's got a very dry sense of humor. No kidding. If she wasn't a teacher, I'll eat my hat. She had to have been a teacher. But I like her projects. She does a really nice variety. She designs some, I think, and I think she's like a big retreat person. She does all of that kind of stuff. So she's really well-rounded in all aspects. And I always like watching her. And we're in the same age range. So, you know, good for her. If she's retired. I think she's retired already. I thought I heard her say she was retired. But I don't know that I ever heard her say from what. My bet is she's a teacher. So, okay. Moving on. But I've watched 1,000 whip parades, but there was no need to list all of those. You can see what I can see as far as what's out there for whip parades. So, all right. So now I just want to show you a little bit of stash just to give you some content. And these are just things that I have. I don't think I've shown them as haul because I've had them for a while. I have an enormous amount, and a lot of it is stuff that I took out of old magazines and just stapled the project together and said, someday I'm going to stitch that. So, not today, but you'll eventually see things like that, and there are some really, really cool ones in there. Or will you see it today? No, you will not. Okay, so first one I picked up at the LNS in Cape May. They have this little area in the back where sometimes you can just find something, scoop up they do a lot of Stony Creek back there and whatever. So this is Jim Shore, Santa's Workshop. I feel like when I first started my floss tube, I gave some thought to starting this, but oh boy, do I have a lot of Christmas going on. So I feel like I need to wait. But I don't want to wait too long because, you know, I do have grandchild so far. Next is, and we'll get to that at the end. If you know, you know. Next is Marty Bell. Huge Marty Bell fan back in the late 90s. This is called Patricia's Porch. Also got this at the LNS in Cape May, whose name escapes me. Stitch by Stitch, Stitch in Time. I can't remember. One of those two. Back in that corner where all the little leaflets are. And I would love to start this. I bought this one in Birdsong Garden, but Birdsong Garden I've started. So, but I love that. They're just feel good, you know. The Marty Bells are just feel good, and they're a million colors, and that appeals to me on a whole different level until I get to the confetti. All right, next is Sue Hillis Designs Christmas Spool Tree. This was on my wish list, and my daughter got it for me like 2 Christmases ago. This one I may actually start and see if I can't start and finish it before Christmas 2026. Because it looks, I don't even know if I would put the border on it. I might just do the tree. Because it doesn't look, famous last words, I'm not even going to say that. It doesn't look so hard. Doesn't look so time consuming. But it's unique and it's cool, and I might think about that. We'll see how I feel when the time comes. Okay, next is Dimensions Gold. It's a Thomas Kincaid. No, it is not. That's the next one. Hold it. Hold it. This is the Thomas Kincaid. Ay, 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 ay. Thomas Kincaid, The Light of Peace. So old. So old. And I used to be a huge Thomas Kincaid fan. 1997. And it was 1999, the design by Candemar Designs. Oh, remember Candemar? So I don't really have any plans to start this, but I thought it was a nice throwback. Look at that price. Even back in 1999, $4.80. All right, next is Sweet Memories, Dimensions Gold Collection. Someone gave me this as a gift, and Joey Forget About It just gave me a new one called Holiday Memories. But again, oh, so many Christmas things. And we all know Dimensions projects don't go fast. So, and there's always a lot of sky, and there's always a lot of snow, and there's always a good amount of trees. So you need to be mentally prepared for that. And then this one also picked up, I don't know when, probably an AC Moore, or let's see if I could say. No, just clearance. It was a clearance, but it had to be AC Moore. This one I'm thinking about starting fairly soon. Elsa Williams, Hodgson's Mill. I love everything about the Colors of Autumn, and that is a very peaceful design to me. And again, I would probably just use the kit stuff because it's virtually full coverage except a little bit of the sky. But I don't know that I would waste a piece of good fabric for that little tiny bit of sky. Probably not. So that's just a little bit of stash. Like I said, I have a lot. I don't have as much as some people have. But it's a lot for me, and a lot of it is pulled out of old magazines before I threw them away, and I put them in a folder. And when I started really back to stitching a lot in like 2016, 2017, once we were empty nesters, I went and dug out those folders that I kept these in, and even found a few. I have a few books, like Better Homes and Gardens books, and you know, the Christmas ornament books and the Santa books and all of that. And so I have a lot already. So I'm trying not to really buy anything because, you know, I have more years behind than I do ahead. So I feel like I need to be a little bit realistic. Although collecting, art form of its own. Okay, so now let's, what are you grateful for? It's the little things. So, I want to give a shout out to 2 commenters, 2 of my subscribers. Pat at EMPM 1330. Pat is grateful to be retired and listening to sounds we tend to ignore like birds, bees, or watching a hummingbird. Isn't that nice? That is so nice that Pat actually recognizes that. So I have a funny bird story real quick. Last Saturday, not this Saturday, not Valentine's Day Saturday, Saturday before, Joey Forget About It and I went into Philly and decided to make a night of it. We stayed over so that we didn't have to drive or anything like that. It also happened to be, even according to the Weather Channel for Philadelphia, The coldest day of the winter, the wind chill was -4. The high was like 11. So we picked picked a great day to be walking around Philly. But we were fine. We were prepared. So it was all good. That's not the story. The story is we came home on Sunday afternoon and we pull into the driveway. And as we pull into the driveway, there have got to be 50, maybe more, robins sitting on my front step, sitting on the roof, sitting on the sidewalk, sitting in on the lawn, and then double that number at my next door neighbors. And these robins were a menace for 48 hours because they're not neat. They do not clean up after themselves. I thought Joey, forget about it, was going to lose his mind. Too cold to like wash down the steps or whatever because we didn't want it to freeze. It was so cold. My neighbor said she was literally losing her mind over these birds. So what of course, Google knows everything. How do you get birds to stay away from your house? They suggested hanging CDs, like if you have a front porch or front steps, hanging like old compact discs, because the shimmering when they hit off the sun, the reflection of them off the sun confuses the birds, and the birds don't like that. It wasn't robin specific or whatever. So I don't know if it was simply because the ground was completely covered in snow for 2 to 3 weeks, or they just needed a rest, or it was so cold they didn't want to go anywhere. I don't know what it was, but they were here for like 48 hours, and then they were gone, every last one of them. So bye-bye, robins. But anyway, I thought it was funny because Pat's talking about listening to the birds. I wanted to get a BB gun and shoot the birds. So, but that's just me. And you know what? I love birds, but I felt like I was in an Alfred Hitchcock movie, and I kid you not. I kept like opening the front door like very gently because I didn't want them to come flying in, and then I would slam it and they would all fly away, and then they'd all be back like 5 minutes later. And I really felt like I was in like an Alfred Hitchcock movie. So thank you for that comment, Pat, of it's the little things. And at Linda Jean Irvin 145, she said that my FLOSSTUBE videos allow her to feel like she's home. She's originally from Philly. So thank you. That was really sweet. I appreciate that. So I am grateful for the snowplow drivers. Like I said, we had that storm. I'm sure many of you did. I think it impacted like at least 40 states. I think Florida actually was fine. But again, we're not talking to you, Florida. But it was a huge, massive storm, and people got really a lot of snow. We did. Ours combined, we didn't get 3 feet of snow. What we got was about 8 inches. But then it turned to ice and sleet. And when I tell you things were encased, my car was encased in ice. And Joey, forget about it, decided that since it happened on like a Sunday, everything was shut down on Monday. On Tuesday, he leaves for work. He cleaned his car off on Sunday before it all froze, but didn't clean my car off because he thought my car would be sitting in the sun. Because normally when we get snow, we generally then get much warmer temperatures, like not warm, but say 40 degrees or 38 degrees, and all the snow and the ice melts. Well, it had stayed at like 11, 12, 15 degrees, 20 degrees was high. Nothing was melting. So my car was encased in ice. It truly was. So that was a problem, and it was a problem for Joey. Forget about it. And we both learned a valuable lesson. I will make sure I tell him to clean my car off, and he will clean my car off. So that was that. That was a little bit of a fun conversation. So back to what I'm grateful for, which was not Joey Forget About It, because he left my car looking like an ice sculpture at a Christmas party. I am grateful for those snowplow drivers. My son, my middle son, plows snow on the side. He when he was a teenager, he worked for a landscaper, and he learned how to plow snow. And so now whenever they get something significant, the landscaper calls him, and they go and he works. But he said the county, because he really works for the county, he's a fire marshal for our county. He said the people that were tasked with plowing snow for the county worked 40 hours straight. And that was because of the ice. The snow was heavy, really heavy, because it immediately, the snow stopped, the sleet started, blah, blah, blah. So I am grateful at county level and also at borough level. I live in a very small town. There are probably 10 borough workers, if there are even that many. And they were out plowing snow, and they've been out until these temperatures have gotten like where they are now. I think today's like 48 or something. Every time we got a little bit of a melt, they'd come back out with their plows, and they'd push what was melting back up into like a pile, because otherwise the street was starting to get overrun with like these, and then at night it freezes again. So now you have kind of a dangerous condition. So I am very thankful for them, and I hope they got overtime and not just comp days off, because they deserve to get paid for that, not just an extra day off, in my opinion. So anyway, so that's what I am thankful for. So let me know what you are thankful for this month. It may just be as simple as the snow is gone or almost gone. Anyway, moving on. Next, book talk. So I read 2. The first one is called The Baby on My Doorstep by Miranda Smith. I like Miranda Smith a lot. And I read this I listened to this in audiobook form. And it's about a baby left on the doorstep of this woman. And it turns out, because they, social services come and the cops come and they take the baby. And just to, they do DNA on the baby, but then they need to do DNA on the homeowner, just because, like, why her, right? Like, did she have a baby and now she's trying to get rid of it and give it away? And she's just said, oh, this baby showed up on my doorstep. So they need to figure that out. So they do DNA. Turns out they are biologically related. They are not mother-daughter. It was a little girl. They're not mother-daughter. They are aunt and niece. So you backtrack to this woman's start of her story, which is her sister went missing a year prior, and she was obsessed with it. It cost her her marriage. She was sure that the sister's ex-boyfriend did it. She got arrested because she was stalking him. All of this crazy stuff. Then the baby shows up on the doorstep. Now, it's a 5-month-old baby. What does that tell you? It tells you that her sister wasn't dead for a year. So, what's the deal? And that's the story. What's the deal? So, it was good. I listened to via audiobook, on audiobook, and it was pretty good. The other one was just a short-ish Kindle story. It was on my Kindle, and it was called Yours for the Season by Uzma Jalaluddin. It was very lighthearted. It was about a Muslim woman who was a lawyer, and she was forced to go to her holiday party, but she didn't really want to because her billable hours were down and the firm wasn't doing good and people were going to get laid off, and she couldn't afford to lose her job because she had this deadbeat ex-boyfriend that, before she threw him out, ran up like $100,000 worth of debt in her name. So she can't lose her job at this high-pressure, high-paying, high-paced, fast-paced New York firm. So, but she has to go. mandatory. You do show up. Many years ago, I worked for a very big law firm in Philadelphia. And yeah, you went to if you were a lawyer, you went to that Christmas party. Like, they wanted the staff to go, but if you were a lawyer, you 100% went to that Christmas party. So, so she's at this Christmas party, and she strikes up a conversation with the server, who's this good-looking guy, and he served some sort of Muslim delicacy, some sort of food that her family makes. And she said, "Oh, my compliments to the chef. This tastes like something my mother would make." Turns out, somehow, weirdly, this guy's the caterer. He's the chef. But he doesn't tell her that then until she walks into her parents' home during the holiday for one of their celebrations, not Christmas, but one of their traditions. And he's there. She's like, "What are you doing here?" Her mother hired him to cater because he does such a good job with all of these traditional foods that they serve at the holidays. So then, next thing you know, they're pretending to be boyfriend and girlfriend. It's not a spoiler. This is all very early in the story. Like, you know the premise. Because both sets of parents, it's like a Hallmark movie. Both sets of parents, why are you married? Why aren't you married? Blah, blah, blah. So they decide to pretend to be boyfriend and girlfriend. Next thing you know, her family is flying to Alaska, where his family lives, to spend the holidays there. So she has no choice. She has to go. So they have to keep up this ruse the whole time. And, you know, mayhem, and, you know, you mix two culturally very different traditions and throw them together in one house, and chaos ensues. So it was very cute. It was very lighthearted. And I read that on Kindle. Okay. Binge talk. I only watched one. We binged one thing. There is a book called His and Hers by Alice Feeney. And it's about a reporter named Anna and a detective named Jack. And they become unlikely allies after a murder in the town where her mother lives. And they both used to live because, oh, by the way, they were married. But there was a tragedy, and they ended up splitting up, and Anna sort of disappeared for a year. So all of a sudden, she's back in action. She hears about this. She goes to her, to her. She's been replaced as the anchor of the news, and she really wants this story. She's like, at least, she said to the producer or whoever, just give me this story. This is where I grew up. My mother lives there, whatever. And Jack Harper is the detective in that town. So that is what the story is about. Like, who died, how they died, who killed them, how it's all, you know, it was probably like 6, 7, 8 episodes. It wasn't too long. It was very good. It was very entertaining. Couple of big twists. So worth watching. I think it was Netflix. Could have been Hulu. Could have been HBO Max, but I don't think so. I think it was Netflix, but I'm not positive. Okay, so one more thing, because we are at 43 minutes, so much for short. There is no such thing in my universe. An update, if you've been with me before, an update on my daughter-in-law. For those of you that are new, my daughter-in-law is pregnant with their second baby. And at 23 weeks, she ran into some trouble. She had a scan done, and they decided that her cervix was looking like she was ready to deliver, but she was 23 weeks. So they put her in the hospital on the high-risk obstetrics floor, and that is where she's been. She is now a full 30 weeks. I think she's 30 weeks and 4 days or something like that. And they sent her home on Valentine's Day, giving me a heart attack. I'm not going to lie. Sent her home on bed rest, but they said, look, you've been stable for like 7 weeks, and we're shocked you didn't deliver that day. That could have been catastrophic. but she has stayed stable. She had been dilated very little and has dilated no more. Her body was showing no signs of labor, and they're like, look, if you can lay in bed like you are doing here, then you can go home. And my son has now set up cameras all over the house. This is love to him, right? I mean, sometimes you just don't know. I did the best I could. So he can watch her, and we'll call her if she shows up on a camera she shouldn't show up on. And she's a little technologically challenged, so she wouldn't even know how to disable them. See, that'd be my first order of business. At 30 weeks pregnant, I'd be standing on a chair ripping that camera right out of the wall, or wherever he put it, however he did it. But that is not what she's doing. She is laying in bed. She's only been home a couple of days. We had our grandbaby yesterday for the marathon, 11 and a half hours. It was a lot. It was really a lot. Makeup cannot possibly hide the exhaustion. But she's in her 31st week, and they would like to see her get to 34. They said most women with a shortened cervix, if they don't deliver like right away and they are stable, they will usually get to 34. But her doctor said, you could go with 32, you could go with 34, you could go with 40. We could have to induce you because you're, past your due date. So we don't know. All we know is this little girl that is in her belly is giving everyone anxiety and a run for their money, but she clearly knows what she's doing because she is not ready to come out. God bless that little baby angel. So she's staying put, and my daughter-in-law is, so my son now no longer needs to run back and forth to the hospital, which saves him about 35 minutes each way. So that's really helpful, and maybe he'll get some rest now that she's there when he's not watching her on camera. And, for us, we just will continue to, our 4-year-old grandson can't stay with her because she can't get out of bed. She can only get out of bed to, go to the bathroom, but they don't want her up and down steps. They don't want any of that, especially as the baby grows, right? And the baby grows and gets heavier, and the more the baby weighs, the more likely if she's standing and walking and whatever, gravity's going to do its thing, and she's going to have that baby too early. So I'll keep you updated. I'm hoping next month I'm telling you that she is now full term, because if she gets to 36 weeks, they consider that full term. So it's very strange. But thankfully, things still look good, and I appreciate all the comments and the prayers, and plenty of people have been telling us stories about, we went through that, but everything was okay. The baby was in the NICU for a while, but they're fine. And, and of course, nobody's really going to tell you the horror stories, right? But hopefully we're past that point now. Not ideal for her to come out at 31 weeks, but certainly past the real catastrophic thing that it would have been. So, but I greatly appreciate everything you've said, all your comments, and I tell her that people that she doesn't know are thinking of her and praying for her and wishing her well. And, we're a hive mind, right? It's the power of prayer. It's the power of positive thinking. All of that matters. I've always believed it, and I certainly believe it now. So, okay, so that's it for me at 48 minutes. Sorry, I promised short, but if you're still here with me, thank you for hanging in. Thanks for watching and listening and liking and commenting and subscribing. And I guess I will see you guys next month. Take care. Bye.